Hello, this is Chris Lasher welcoming you to the Software Carpentry screencast. This cast is covering the shell. We'll begin with an introduction to the shell, including some basic commands to get you oriented and used to working in the shell environment. Following that, we'll discuss the anatomy of the command line, including flags, arguments, wildcards, and input and output redirection. We'll briefly discuss process control, and then we'll step back to take a brief tour of the Linux file system. After that, we'll discuss file permissions in Linux, as well as setting variables in the shell. We'll wrap up with a look at a few more useful tools that are available to us from the shell. Most of us are very much used to interacting with our computers through a graphical interface, moving the mouse around, pointing and clicking to get to a new web page, or viewing our files in a graphical file browser. It's all very intuitive, but it's not always the most efficient way to interact with our computers. And this is the reason why the shell and command line tools are still around and very much in use today. So let's go ahead and get started using the shell. I'm using Ubuntu GNU Linux, and for Linux there's a wide variety of terminals available. The one I'll be using here is the GNOME terminal. For KDE there's console, and then there's also Xterm, Aterm, Eterm, and quite a few others. For Mac OS X, you'll find the terminal is available, I think, in the Applications menu. And for Windows users, the tools that we'll be using here aren't available by default, but you can download them from Cygwin.com. Cygwin is essentially it's a Linux distribution that runs on Windows. So you can download and install this for free, and I highly recommend it. I've used it before, and it's a wonderful tool. So our Windows users are going to need to get this to follow